overview of our ProjectSight platform today. We will be getting started in just a moment. All right, great. So welcome everybody. My name is Matt Trimble. I am a regional manager on the ProjectSight team, and I'll be acting as your moderator for today. Along with me is Jane Silvinko. She's one of our solution engineers, and she will be the main driver of today's presentation. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Throughout the webinar, we do invite you to engage with us by asking questions. You can use the question box that can be found on the GoToWebinar control panel. It's typically found on the right-hand side of your screen. So yeah, ask questions. We'll have time between each section where we can hopefully address all the questions. If for sake of time, if we run out of time, we will follow up individually with you afterwards via email. And we'll also be recording this session, so we will also send you a copy of this webinar via email as well. I do have a couple polls that I'm going to pop up between the different sections, so we do encourage you to participate. And here's a quick list of what we're going to be covering today. So Jane's going to guide us through just like a navigational tour of the homepage, going over security roles and the different dashboard widgets. And then we're going to jump into our drawings management module, document control, field management, and then we'll wrap up with the budget and cost module. So with that being said, I will pass it over to Jane, and we can go ahead and get started with ProjectSight overview.
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. Once again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday afternoon with us. And let's get started. All right, so you are seeing right now a landing page for ProjectSight. So this is the very first page. When you log in with your username and password, this is exactly what you're going to see. Just a few things before we head to the fun stuff. Number one, I'm logged in as Jack Clifton, who is a project manager. So we gave him a role of that. And as you can see, he has access to 12 different portfolios. So the way we organize our projects is based on different portfolios you have. You might want to differentiate them based on the region of the project, so perhaps the market that you're servicing. So it will depend, the amount of portfolios and projects that you see will depend on the permissions and the number of invitations to the projects that you have. So we'll concentrate on a central division today, and you'll see that under that, there's 26 different projects that Jack has access to, right? So that means someone invited him to participate on those projects. Right, on the left-hand side, I can actually work through some of the different workflow statuses for those projects, right, and kind of like see exactly what the status is, and then basically navigate to those projects that I'm mostly interested in. So I'm going to navigate, and for today's purpose, we'll look at the University Student Union and Wellness Center. And I'm going to quickly just round down a few key items of what you're actually seeing on the screen when you navigate down to the project level. So there's three key things that you're looking at right now. So number one, probably the most one that kind of pops up, right, because it is colorful and your eyes are jumping onto that screen, is the middle section here, right? Those in the middle, we call them dashboard widgets, right? So these dashboard widgets are interactive ways for you to see the progress of your project, right? The health of certain records. And when I say interactive, is that I'm able to simply hover over any one of those overdue items, for example, right? And get a list of them listed here. And I can directly go to specific RFI that is overdue on this project. Now, every user, right, who has certain permissions to those records will be able to create and organize this dashboard widgets, so it makes more sense to them, right, based on the work that they're doing. Number two on this screen is the right-hand side, right? You'll see my assignments. So besides getting alerted through the email, right, you actually logging into ProjectSight, and it actually tells you what's in your court, right? What has been assigned to you and what records need your attention. And perhaps some of the items, will note when they are due, right? Number two, on the left-hand side, right, these are all of the different modules that ProjectSight consists of. And we'll dive into pretty much all the modules, but I want to really quickly run down through this area. So number one, right, we have drawing and specifications. We have an area where we simply come in, upload our drawings, turn on OCR. So we can hyperlink different other callouts, right? And we can collaborate internally before publishing out to the rest of the team members. Now, your team members who need to access drawings on the field, right, who need to identify crucial things like, RFIs, issues, punch items, then they have an area to do so in the drawings area where they can organize their drawings, look at the most current set, right, do their comparisons, and make sure that everyone is in a loop and everyone knows what's going on. There's also budget and cost management module. So we have 3 different areas of interest. So in the budget and costs, right, module, you have all the records that you need to track the project cost, right? So we'll take a look at that, but there's 3 main sections, right? There is a way for us to track budget, include different types of contracts, right? Then as we potentially head into the change management, right, we're able to easily identify where that change is, start our potential change order from the field, maybe an RFI or an issue, right? And then potentially combine that into the one change order, right? And we also have payments area, right? So we have everything from general expenses that can hit your budget, contract invoices, and pay applications. In the document control, right, so this is an area where we have things like action items, to-do list, right, that you can assign to yourself, to others. We have detailed meeting minutes with itemized items, right, that you are going over during your meeting, with an easy way to assign action items and track that, right, and then easily be able to copy all of the open items from one meeting to another. And we also have RFI log and, of course, the submittals with ability for you to create submittal packages. Field management, so this is an area, right, where probably users on the field will utilize this a lot. We have things like checklist, those forms that you can recreate, right, with different sections and line items. You can do the checklist and then have the ability to assign that to different users, right? So you can create things like QA, QC, deliveries, surveys, right, inspections, and other daily reports that track automated weather with very detailed labor all the way down to the crew level, right, with equipment tracking and ability, of course, to incorporate any kind of inspections, observations, and daily progress photos. And then also some of the other construction forms that you might be interested in using, such as fieldwork directives, right, notices to comply on the job, punch items as you're walking through the project, and at the end stage, as well as safety notices with built-in OSHA standard fields. Now, everything that I've just talked about, right, different modules, of course, there's going to be a lot of documentation and photos, right, different kinds of files that will be attached to it. So everything will be incorporated and saved for you in the file library that could be easily accessed based on your permissions, where you can also create your different folders, right, and then keep all that important project data in one area. All right, so that was just the overview of what you can expect, right, when you're interacting with a project within ProjectSight. And now we are going to go ahead and take a look at our very first module, which is drawings.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt. I'll interrupt with questions. Can you just answer? They wanted to know about how configurable or how flexible it is to change those dashboards on your homepage. So can you maybe just quickly show how you can manage those?
Yeah, very good. So those widgets right here, right? So it is going to be a user's decisions of which widgets that they want to display on their dashboard, right? So if the available widgets is, something that's not there, they can create widgets as they're interacting with different records, and I can run down that in a little bit. But typically, all the available widgets based on the module are listed here, and then the user will be able to simply identify what's important for them and add it to their dashboard.
Perfect. And then the other question, and I think you touched on this, but they just want to know, am I able to set up a limited view for subcontractors that I invite to a project?
Very good question. That's actually gets asked 99% of the time when I demo, and I'm happy to announce that ProjectSight has very, very granular administrative rights down to the field, right? So you will determine, right, how you limit the visibility for different user groups. So it's role-based permission all the way down to the field level.
Perfect. That's all for now.
Oh, thank you so much. I love the questions. Keep them coming. All right, and now let's get to the fun part and let's start looking at different modules that we have. So I'm going to start with drawings. And there's two different sections here. So I'm just going to show you how we simply upload a drawing set, right? So it could be a specific discipline that we're uploading, or perhaps, construction 50% or 75%. I'm just going to quickly show you how easy it is to get those drawings in here. So I'm going to browse for a few files that I have on my computer here. I'm going to set this drawing here, and I'm going to select only one drawing from the set. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to identify some of the key information that are being displayed on this drawing, right? So things like the number, the title, the date, right? I have this really easy tool that's called highlighting tool. It allows me to quickly highlight, and it's going to populate that information in there. So I'm going to do so for the number, title, and the date, right? If you have the discipline, you can also have that. If not, there is a drop down. Right, and also what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my OCR, my optical character recognition, right? And that means two things, is that anytime I add any additional drawings to the set, I will no longer have to identify any of the key metadata. It's going to automatically detect it. And number two, anytime there are any callouts such as this, referencing another drawing such as this one, 8501, it's going to create a hyperlink. Right, so think about if you're in the field and you're seeing all these different callouts that for other drawings, you'll be able to simply click on that link and be taken to that drawing directly. So I'm going to click next, and for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and just let it process very quickly, and I'm going to select a few more other drawings just so you can see how that works. You can have, 2, 3, or you can have hundreds, right? Drawing. So as you can see back there on the background, it's going to give me that grid, right? It's going to tell me if there's any issues, right? So I can come in here and select my group number so I can resolve these issues, right? And as you can see, this is the time where I can actually come in here, review everything that's been uploaded, maybe incorporate a few other people, right, that I want to address this this specific set, right, before I distribute it to the team. All right, as you can see, if this is a drawing that already existed, the revision is going to be picked up, right? And in any case, if I ever needed to adjust something, that I can easily do so before publishing these drawings. All right, so that's how we upload the drawing set. And then when we starting to interact with those drawings, right, and we have the ability to come in and do all of our markups and do all of our annotations, the team members will navigate into the drawing area, and I'm going to simply show you how we can accomplish that. So very simple, right? I'm viewing 97 drawings. They're actually been filtered down to show me the most current set in building one by discipline type, right? So this search panel right here, it's actually going to be present on every single record that I navigate to, and is there for the comfort of you just getting down and viewing information that's most important for you, whether it's for the day or for the week. All right, and making sure that you're able to come in here and save this view so the system can remember what you've been working on. So I'm going to navigate into this level 1 floor plan, and I'll discuss a few key things that you're able to do so, and then I'll open up for questions. All right. So as this drawing is loading, I want to point out that right on top there, all right, so whether you're viewing it on the web, on the mobile, right, I'm pretty sure that everyone wants to make sure that we are working and viewing the most current version, right? So there's the version. In case you were viewing a previous version, you can have a superseded stamp, or it's going to have a red banner saying, hey, this is an older version of that drawing. In any case, the versions are always present, right? So you can go back and forth between different versions. You're probably going to be asking me, well, how do I compare, right? So if I want to know what has changed structurally, or if there are any other new annotations that were present, we do have a comparison tool. It is very user-friendly. You can compare this drawing version to another version, or even a different discipline, right? It's simply going to ask you to overlay, and then you can see all the differences in different color. So we do have that option. And then probably what pops out the most here, right, is the different colorful annotations that I have here. So all of these different boxes, they represent some sort of record, right, or maybe a photo. So I have some RFIs here, right, that are asking me to review staircase size. There's some issues. There's also punch items, right? So I was able to kind of get that on here. As a user, if I'm reviewing something, right, so I know there's this RFI 86. I think this is something that I have to work on. I can easily come in here and actually open up this RFI in a different view, right? So I see that it's actually closed. And you can actually keep going, right, and working through these different items. But what's easy to see is that you're able to open up a record, and on the quick panel on the right-hand side, you can actually see all the details, right? So open status, when was this due? So I see that it's been assigned to me, but it's overdue, and any questions and collaborations that are in between here. The way we get these markups on here is you have the tool here on the left-hand side that allows me to draw something cloud, right, or use one of our quick links, right? So I can come in here and select an RFI, highlight an area, right, and it's going to ask me whether I want to link an existing RFI or perhaps create one, right? So as we're creating this, right, and we are on the field, we're kind of need a very quick way of getting that information in, right? So as you're creating this RFI, typically all you need to have is the subject, right, based on the settings that I have now, my question, right, and I have the ability to come in here and maybe add a photo or from any field, right, snap it from my mobile. And then as you can see, it's also assigned to a role, because the workflow that I set is saying, hey, I want my RFIs to go through internal PMs before we send it over anywhere else. All right, so that's the idea, is that everything is underneath your fingertips, easy to use, and a very fast interface where you concentrate on the things that are important to you. All right, I think I've covered some of the key things, and before I move into our document control and show you how we, for example, look at the RFI log, right, and also see all these different RFIs that I have here, we can also work on them in the RFI module. Matt, do we have any questions that are coming in about drawings?
Yep, two quick questions. So the first one is, and I think you covered this a little bit, but they just want to know what happens to the previous versions after I upload a new one.
Yeah, so visibility changes to access current versions, right? And the previous versions can be accessed through the drawings, right, to this informational panel. And then the markups carry over from version to version, so you don't have to worry about losing those. So basically, the idea is that you always have access to previous versions, but they are kind of titled, right? If it's current, or if it's not current, you'll have a red banner saying like superseded or older version.
Got it. And then the next question was if there is a question about the comparison tool. Just wondered if you could just maybe cover that a little bit more and just maybe show an example of how you compare two drawings, two of the revisions.
Yeah, very good. So the comparison is very simple, right? So you just compare it to another version of the drawing, right? It's gonna give you an option to align something. All right, if it aligned automatically, that's great. You can just finish alignment. And it's also if there's any structural issues like here, it's gonna actually show you. And then you have your comparison options. Where you can turn on annotations, right? You can choose your overlapping line color, right? Remove annotations, right? And then kind of keep that, and you can also print those results and kind of save them if need be.
Okay, great. So that was it on the questions. I'm actually going to throw up our first poll before we move on to document control. So in a second, you should see a poll question appear on your screen. And the question is, do you currently use models on your projects? So I'll give everybody a few seconds to answer that, and then I'll share the results. All right, just another second. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and close that. All right, so results 75% said yes, they currently do BIM models on their projects. One thing I did want to point out, because we won't go over this too much here, but a subscription to ProjectSight does come with full business class premium access to a tool called Trimble Connect. And Trimble Connect is actually embedded right inside of ProjectSight. So Trimble Connect is kind of that hub that allows you to store and organize all your documents and 3D models all in one place. So kind of think of it like a SharePoint or a box, but it also has a 3D viewer capabilities embedded in it as well. So Jane, maybe if you just want to kind of click on that, maybe that stairwell and show the model and how that opens up.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for bringing that up. And that actually makes sense. You know, there's 75 of you, 75% voted yes. So I just wanted to quickly point out what to Matt's point is that we do have an area for you to come in here and upload. As you can see, this colorful little link here. This means that there's a model view that was attached to it, right? So just like we attach different kind of annotations, we are also able to come in here and link 3D models, right? So this will be a link to all of the different model views that we create in Trimble Connect, basically where you can store that 3D model. We support multiple file types that are available, but as you can see, right from ProjectSight, I was able to pull up this 3D model view. This is an IFC model, and see all of the markups that were clearly are here on this beam here. All right, so you have direct access to linking these models and identifying them. For example, this was an issue, and this issue has this model attached to here. Yeah.
Great. Yep, thanks everybody for participating. We can move on to document control.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to click done, and we're going to navigate into the document control next. All right. So as you can see, here's where I have all the different 7 different submodules. You saw how I easily was able to create and look at the RFIs on the drawing. So the RFI module, of course, has its own respective module where you can come in and do all kinds of things here, right? So on the RFI module, we always start you off with a log, right? So we always want you to see exactly how many RFIs are on this project, right? we give you an option to come in here and kind of make sure you have the ability to filter and sort, right? So right now I have open RFIs, but if I wanted to maybe look at the due date, or maybe an RFI that was assigned to a specific responsible contractor, I have the ability to kind of hone down to that very specific detail, right? You have the ability to create your own log. So every user, right, will be able to come in here and add additional columns, move things around, right? And then kind of save that view. So the next time they log in, right, they are seeing this information all the time. This comes in handy a lot with my customers who are saying, well, I need to create an open RFI log, right, that I'm submitting to the owner, or perhaps I would like to create an RFI log for all of my projects, right? So we do have the ability, and I want to point this out. We do have the printing report capability. We have two types of reporting. We have the reports that come from different templates that are available for you to use. It comes with ProjectSight. You have the ability to link any kind of attachments are within there. You have an option to choose your format. And of course, we have cross-project reporting, which allows you to take one or more projects, right, and present this RFI report holistically for the entire portfolio that you have. Right, and then the second one is ad hoc template. So you can actually filter, search, group this different log that I just showed you in the back end. And then you can also create this report on the go if need be, right? And then the options to interact with the report is to view in a tab. You can download it or actually email it out of the system, right? To anyone with the email address and compose your body here. So that's kind of the basics of the log, right? So it's configurable. Anyone can save it. Your log can be your ad hoc report, and then you have the ability to create different templates from here. All right, so now let's take a look at one of the RFIs very quickly. I'm pretty sure you guys are like, oh, she showed it to me earlier. I already know it. It's very basic. You'll see that as I'm navigating from one record to another, you'll have that familiarity, and that was done as for intended purposes to make sure that the adoption is very easy. So just very quickly, this RFI 14 that's missing steel beam. On the right hand side, I just have some key information about this RFI. It's an open status. There's some due dates, right, that was entered here. Responsible company, and then I see that there was assigned to 2 PMs. In the middle here, I can actually see the attached drawing, right? So this is when you identify that RFI on the drawing is going to make that connection. So you can always navigate to the drawing very easily. My collaboration and all the comments, right, that are going to be between those people assigned to this RFI is going to happen here in enter your comment. And they can enter the comment here, or they can just simply reply via email, and it's going to be documented here in the comments area. You can also attach any types of documentation, right, supporting this RFI, whether it's files from the ProjectSight library, right, or any other type of record that exists in ProjectSight, right? So anything that you want to link that makes sense, we can do so. There's also an impact tab. So if you know that this missing steel beam, it's going to be a cost impact, we can identify this cost impact on the RFI, right? So when you do your reporting and you run through them, you can actually see ahead of time of what might potentially, go against me, what I'm going to have to spend more money on. And then right from here, as you're closing out your RFIs, you can also start a potential change order, right? So if you're definitely going to go ahead and increase your budget, or you'll need to ask for more money from the owner, right, to pay for this, then we can actually come in here and start a potential change order. So when it's linked, right, we have all that paper trail as far as how that change has originated, right? Where did it come from? So that's some of the key things. And also we have additional info. So the ProjectSight, you can have multiple custom fields that you can create and also report on, right? So one of the things is important is for people to be able to report on things they are documenting. And of course, history, right? Any record that you create in ProjectSight, you will have that detailed history with a date and timestamp, right, of when something was changed. All right, so very quickly, that was RFIs. I'm going to go back to document control and just quickly show you So action items, issues, even submittals, they're pretty much going to behave in a very similar way. The submittals is also going to have a submittal log, right? That in the same format as RFI, you'll be able to come in here and filter out for specific RFIs and kind of create your log. Submittals can be very easily created here, just like we saw with RFIs, or you can import them as well. All right, so we can very easily import that by giving you a very nice template. The RFIs, I'm sorry, the submittals, right? I'm gonna actually open one up here. Just a few things to point out here. Right-hand side, right? So this is submittal workflow. So as we're working through our submittal, it is important to make sure that we are on top of our workflow, right? So to make sure that any submissions we've got them reported, right? If anything's been sent out to designer and reviewed internally first, that we keep track of that status, right? Any revisions that were made previously, they're going to be recorded here, right? Spec sections, they're available for us to choose from. If they're a part of this submittal as part of the one package, right, that you created, it's going to have a hyperlink to that package. And the difference between this submittal that I'm looking at and if it's part of the package, that means that the few submittals were attached to the package, right, and it's been sent out to whomever needs to respond to it in one big submission with one notification, right? So I see my responsible subcontractor and of course anyone who's been assigned to it that's responsible for it. One thing about submittals, just to note that any documents that needed to be reviewed, you could open them up and do some of the redlining here. So you can comment, highlight something. You can even attach your approval stamp here, right? So you'll have the ability to do so on the submittal. And another thing is that we do have a detailed tracking system. So if you have the need to track the submittal and record the final due date, right? You can use all the lead times here to calculate that due date automatically. And if there's any dates that we're not catching here, then the additional info, of course, will track those for you. Any comments, right? Any resolutions, once again, they're going to be tracked through here. And as you can see also, the resolution can be chosen based on the answers that you receive, right, before you close out and approve your submittal. All right, so that was submittals. Document control, I'm just going to show you one more thing before we head out to field management, is our meeting minutes. So let's take a look at that. All right, so in the meeting minutes, as you can see, I have different types of meeting names, right, that I keep track of. And when you create a brand new meeting, you're able to kind of create that meeting template, right? And that comes in handy because when you have a template, right, and you know that, for example, in your OAC meeting, your owner architect meeting contractor, you kind of go through the same things maybe on a weekly basis just to make sure things are moving along on your project, right? Then it's going to be easy for you to copy those items from one meeting to another with one click, and I'll show you how that's done. So that's the meeting. As you can see, I have all these attendees that have been invited to participate on this meeting. And as you having this meeting, you actually can easily identify if they were present or not. The meeting minute item numbers below here are actually listed under the meeting minutes. And as you can see, there are itemized here. So I have different item numbers here with different topics, right? So you can have different topics for the meeting. You can have different descriptions, right? And you can also utilize this rich text area to document any important other information. All right, so as I scroll down, you'll see a lot of information about this meeting. And then if you need to add any action items, right, that belong to the specific item, then you can actually create it from this area. No need to leave meeting minutes to create an action item and assign it to a person, right? So very easy. And then of course, the distribution of meeting minutes at the end, right? you always have this print button and all the records, right, which give you ability to choose the type of template that you want to send off, right? So old business, new business, or just very summarized topic. And then you can also distribute it this way. And when you're ready to create another meeting, right, you simply utilize this functionality to look at all the open items that you have. They're going to be automatically selected, right? And all you have to do is create a brand new meeting, and then all of the items will be carried over. All right. Do we have any questions on our document control? Matt, do we have any questions coming in?
Yeah, we have one question regarding reporting. So they wanted to know, so you showed them how they could do do the ad hoc reporting, or you just wanted to template reports. So the question is, what if you have multiple projects? Can you do cross-project reporting?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, we do have a functionality where you could choose the reports that belong to all of the for all projects within their portfolio, right? So when you're creating a report, it automatically defaults the project you're in. But if you ever wanted to choose any other projects, you'll have a list of all of them down here. All you have to do is select it, and when you print, it's going to actually differentiate which project, but include those records that you want and present that for all projects.
Right, so I could go through and check off 3 or 4 projects I'm working on that have RFIs and an open status, and run a report that encapsulates all the open items.
You are correct, and you can also use different formats, right? And you can also decide of how you want to view this report. So there's multiple options, depends of what the need is.
Great, I think that answers the question.
Awesome. I like the questions. Keep them coming. All right. All right, so if no more questions for document control, I'm happy to move on to field management. All right, so field management, right? So this module contains all the records that are going to make it easier for managing daily job site activities, right? So there's a lot of modules here as well, but due to our time, I'm just going to highlight some of the most that I'm seeing that are being used, and some of them that can really alleviate and help out those daily site activities. So first things first, let's take a daily report, right? Because I feel like this is one of those key items that is definitely everyone is using, everyone's familiar with. So our daily reports, all right, so I'm gonna actually click on this one that I have to review. I haven't reviewed this one yet, so it's good practice for us to see how we review those hours. So there's 4 different sections, right? So we have weather, labor, equipment, and notes. So you can interact with weather manually, or you can set the weather to be automatically picked up. If you just choose your zip code, your weather station, then it's going to automatically come here and detect that. But in any case, you always have, if you have permissions to do so, you can always come in here, make your notes, and make adjustments as necessary. In our labor, so labor, in the labor, based on the settings, you can have a very high level labor, right? You can just track the company and the hours that they worked. In this case, I have labor for a company, and then it also lists the crew and the crew members, right? To classify by classification and trade. And as you can see, it has the start and date and the hours they worked, right? And it's for this company. Now keep in mind, because right now I'm viewing this as a project manager, I can actually see all the submissions that I have for the day, right, from multiple companies. So it is my kind of responsibility that I have now to come in here and just review these hours, right, make sure I review all the description, all the notes, and then kind of approve those hours so they can go onto the main, hours that I have for this day. You can, right, so you can have your your external users, your subcontractors enter the daily report if they have access to it. But also I have some customers who are doing it for the subs, and that's why you have the ability to create this, and you also have the ability to copy labor from other days, right? So if the job, you know, goes on for a few weeks and you kind of have the same task for certain companies, you have a very easy way to kind of copy it over and include it on this current daily report. Equipment tracking, right? So there's a list of equipment, and then you can track all the hours you've used on it. And of course, the notes, right? The notes will have different types of progress photos. This daily report even has a fieldwork directive, right? So you're asking, you know, certain work to be completed, right? So this link button right here, right? This kind of organizes everything that's been linked to this daily report. So we have files, we have records, right? And then if everything else that you need to attach to this daily report, once again, I can come in here and use this link button. And then that kind of opens up the world of ProjectSight, right? As you can see, you can upload a file, take it from the file library, or connect any other record, right, that you need to have on this daily report, right? So whether it is a fieldwork directive or perhaps, you know, an inspection, right, from the checklist module, you'll be able to connect it together. All right. So that was daily report. And one more thing that we're going to cover is our checklist module. All right, so the checklist, right, is the checklist allows you to create and maintain different checklist templates. Those templates be created for the project and then carried over from one project to another. They're very easy to maintain and create. That's something that you'll have access to, right, in your admins, or whoever's responsible for it can come and create different types of templates. So as you can see, I have a few of them, right? I have different modules. So I have like administrative, I have inspection, QA, QC, safety. And then to fill out this form, all I have to do is click on the plus sign and then select from those templates that I have for this project, right? So for example, we'll just pick the subcontractor startup list, right? So there's a very simple checklist that I'm going to show you just to give you an idea that I'm able to come in here and look through all these different sections. I can do, you know, pass, attention required, an A, and then each individual items that I have here can also be assigned to that person, right? Make your comments. It can be assigned to different users who are responsible for that specific section, right, for the day. Right. We have the approval section, so you can come in here and look at different approvals, right, and make sure you track of where those approvals are, right, and when they were touched upon. And then if you're using our mobile application for our iPad, you can actually also sign it with your finger, right? So you can actually sign each section that, you know, someone's responsible for. So unlimited amount of checklist, and we also, you know, our initial projects will include some of them, so you can start your work from the checklist that we already have for you. All right, Matt, do we have another poll, or do we have more questions coming in?
So we do have a couple questions, and then I'll go ahead and put up the final poll question before we get into budget and cost. So on the field management side, they're curious about if inspections, doing inspections through the checklist module.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so inspections, so as you can see, I have a module here for inspections. Those are some inspections that already have been started on this project. I have some ones that you can also grab from here. So I have this, you know, pour card slab on grade inspection. So I just created that right for this project. As you can see, I have some form work section here, MEP. I can identify something as pass or attention required, or you can also create your own fields, right, to maybe track something else, maybe the location of it, or, you know, certain details of that inspection. So just like the earlier inspections, very easy to create different types of inspections, right? And they kind of like keep those templates, and then you can very easily create and edit them as need to be.
Okay, great. 2 more quick questions. Can you link specific checklist or QC forms to a location on a drawing?
Yes, so you can look at the location here that we have, for maybe that's location on a job site, but also we can link this checklist to any location that you have on your drawing.
Perfect. And then finally, can you just briefly, they're asking if you can briefly touch on field work directives.
Yes. So going back to field management, so fieldwork directives, I see my clients using this, to handle maybe unexpected events or account for certain work or provide clarification about work that's being supposed to completed. So maybe, this one right here I have is for additional temporary power. I'm actually going to open this up. It looks like we have to close it because it might have been resolved already. So as you can see here, it's asking, to provide that temporary power. On the right-hand side, I see that, it's a cost control item. So actually going to derive with some cost, right? You have an option to do your estimates here from the work directives. But the most important thing is that collaboration piece, right? Where we're asking, what happened? Why are we asking for this power? Why are we asking for this request? That all this backup documentation here, right? There's a file that is actually describing that the power was provided and here's the cost, right? And then the resolution that we were able to track, based on the comments that were here, we were able to select our resolution. So very
Perfect.
similar to other ones you saw, yeah, but it gives you ability to kind of interact with it and make sure all the necessary items that need to happen on it are tracked, attached, and all the necessary parties are involved in this fieldwork directive.
Perfect. Thanks, Jane. And then there's been a couple, and I think maybe this will be a good time to quickly go over it. So they're asking about, so on the field side of things, what are the options to actually capture and attach images from the field? So I would maybe just touch on kind of some of the mobile tools that we have.
Yeah, so anytime that you want to capture something, so we have, we have the mobile app for iPad, for Android, iOS, right? So anytime you are on the field and you may be working on a drawing, right, and you need to snap a photo and attach it to a location on the drawing, or if you're working through an RFI, daily report, and need to snap a photo. Anytime you are on the record and you are working through this record, you have always this link area, right? Regardless, you're in fieldwork directives or daily reports, you have the ability to attach something, right? So because I'm on the web, it's telling me upload a file or file library. For example, if you're using an iPhone, it's going to say, open up camera or use from the camera roll, right? So at any given point, you'll be able to open up your phone, your iPad, and snap a photo and attach it to this record that you're working on.
Excellent. All right, so very quickly, I am going to pop up the last poll question, which is, before we get into our budget and cost module, it's kind of related. Which ERP or accounting solution does your project management solution integrate with? And a couple options there. All right, got some results trickling in here. 75% of the attendees have voted. Let's just give it another second. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'll kind of read through the results here. So it looks like it's a pretty even mix, but I would say the majority, it says it looks like do not currently integrate their project management with their accounting system. So that's definitely an area, as me and Jane talk to prospective buyers, that's one of the areas they're always looking into. Obviously, the value there is keeping the field workers in the project management solution where they're comfortable, keeping the finance folks in the accounting solution where they're comfortable, but having the data flow back and forth and make sure that people have access to the information and visibility into the health of the projects is definitely a big, can make a big impact. So thanks for participating. Jane, if you want to kind of wrap us up here with going over budget and cost, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks so much. So our budget and cost module contains records, obviously, for tracking all of your project costs, right? There are several records here. This is definitely a lot of information to consume in just one webinar. So I'm going to try my best, right, to describe of high level information. So I'm going to start off with budget, right? I'm going to show you what that incorporates, and then I'm going to actually talk through some of the key items that our customers using. So number one, right, everything's kind of revolves around the budget piece, right? So we're kind of entering this area to track how much money has been committed and how much money is being spent. So perhaps the project managers, right, who need to kind of know where they're standing, what can we expect, what changes can we expect to come in, are we over, are we under, right? So this is the financial screen. So this is like the health of the financial sides of things, right, that kind of help you out to see where you're at. So this is a big screen, so I'm just going to point out some of the highlight things. So on top there, right, you can always see the summary bar of your original budget that was granted for you to build the project. It has the projected budget, projected costs, and kind of showing you if you're a little bit over or under. Now, our budget code structure right here, some of you might call it budget code, some of you call it phase codes, right? So these are all items, right, that you create on the project. Will help you create the cost code, and if you're using it already, we can accommodate that. You will build this out with our team, with our implementation team, and the budget can be easily added manually, or we also have an option for you to import it. And now all the budget codes here are they have this hyperlink, and the hyperlink is actually giving you that budget transactional history, right? So you kind of see, okay, this is my cost code, but here's all the different records. This is the contract that utilizes cost code, and this is the potential change order, and these are all the invoicing, right? So you kind of always see that progression of what's left on that cost code, right? So very detailed. And on here, if I scroll to the right, I have all these different columns, right? So this gives me an idea of, what was my original budget, what's my current budget. As I'm getting into this yellow, guys, it's my cost, right? So what are the commitments I have with the different subcontractors, and then also on the right-hand side all the way down, I have my cost. I have my actual cost, right? So things like, actual percent complete, right? How much yet I have to work on, right, to complete this project, right? So it kind of gives you those calculations, and those calculations that you can expect to be here automatically, right? There's nothing you input yourself unless you have some of the forecasts to complete that you want to do on your own, right? All the other calculations could be expected here as you're interacting with multiple other records we have, right? So as you're creating your budget, right, you can always also come in here and set up your contracts, right? We have different type of contracts that you can withhold in the system, right? You can have your subcontractors, you can keep a track of the contract you have with the owner, right? So it kind of helps you out here. And this contract area will have all of the information, including any change orders that are there for the contract. We also have cost forecast. So our cost forecast, you'll be able to generate a very detailed cost forecast by month or period. And you have three options. You can do it on a project budget, individual contracts, or all projects within a portfolio, right? So you have a nice grid that you can manipulate, and you can also get different charts, right, to see the latest information from the cost forecast. Purchase orders. Those guys can, track material, equipment, supplies, and you can also create general invoices to go against the purchase order if needed. And it also has a catalog from your most wanted items that you purchase from vendors. As we get into the change management, right? So the one thing I wanted to point out is that remember how we saw an RFI and how I was able to create a potential change order. So everything kind of starts, you know, the change order kind of starts within the PCO. And in the PCO area, this is where we can collect our own ROM, right? So the rough order of magnitude, and we can send over to receive proposed amounts from our subcontractors, right? The subcontractors can come in and answer, right, only to those items that are assigned to them. And then we can kind of make sure, you know, that we utilize this potential change order and make sure that we are always impacting the right areas of the budget, right? To kind of see, are we forecasting this amount? Is this approximate, or this is pending, or, you know, these things are going to be approved, right? So you constantly work on this potential change order to keep track of that information. And then if you ever need to combine those potential change orders into one change order to send it off to the owner, you can use the change order request, right? And then of course, if you want to differentiate the sub change orders versus prime contract change orders, we also have those items to keep track of that as well. In the payments, we do have a contract invoices. So this is where you would track all the sub invoices, right? General expenses, those items can go against the budget, right? So non-contract invoices that you receive. And of course, the application for payments, right? That gives you ability to summarize all completed work for each cost period. And you do have the ability to track different items that do go against the owner's schedule values, but you also have ability with one click to add all contract invoices, general invoices, and any change orders, right? So as you're building out that application for payment, you have all that backup information that you have, and you can attach it within a few clicks, and then also generate your G702 and G703 forms. So I know this has been it's a short rundown of what we have. I'm more than happy to demo something in detail, right, for you guys and for your company if need be. Just let Matt know, and we can get down into more detailed information on budget and cost. But Matt, do we have any questions of a very, very short overview that we just performed on the VCM?
No. There's a couple questions that have trickled in that I hadn't had to get or didn't have a chance to get through. Nothing specifically on the budget and cost, but there was just a general question about implementation of ProjectSight and kind of how long does that take. So I would answer that is obviously we have a really seasoned and veteran staff, and we can go as fast as you want to go. So we have an implementation methodology where we start with a kickoff call, do introductions, roles, responsibilities, and kind of map out what the timeline will look like. And then we start getting into kind of more extensive than what Jane just did, going through all the different record types and looking at the functionality. And, you know, there's some configuration decisions that need to be made. So we asked your help to go through, answer, you know, make the decisions on how you want it configured, how you want the workflow to be. And then we actually go back through the configuration before doing testing or doing any training to your team. So you have a full staff that's there to help you. I would say on average, you know, I would say, I don't know, 8 to 12 weeks is kind of standard. Again, it depends on if you're rolling it out enterprise-wide or per project. So there's a lot of different variables, but we'd be happy to go through that in more detail on your specific needs. So I think that'll probably be the last question we have time for. We're right up at 3 o'clock. We do appreciate everybody joining today. Appreciate your participation. We will be emailing out a recording. And so with that, I hope everybody enjoyed the webinar and learning more about the next generation project management solution from Trimble, ProjectSight. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.